Title: AITA for refusing to let my dad pay for my wedding after he demanded my fiancé prove he's worthy. Original post. Hi Reddit, buckle up because this is a long one. I, 28F, am getting married to my fiancé, Jake, 30M, in 6 months. We're very much in love, and I couldn't be happier to spend my life with him. My dad, on the other hand, has never really warmed up to Jake. He's a bit of a traditionalist and has always believed a man should prove his worth. He's expressed concerns that Jake isn't stable enough, mostly because Jake is a freelance graphic designer, and my dad thinks it's not a real job. When Jake proposed, I was thrilled, but my dad was visibly unimpressed and basically said, "Well, we'll see if he can actually support you." My dad and I used to be close, and this attitude has put a strain on our relationship, but I've tried to brush it off for the sake of keeping the peace. Fast forward to a few months ago, and my dad offered to pay for the wedding. This was a huge relief, as we were planning on a budget wedding due to Jake's unpredictable income, but Dad insisted that his little girl deserves the best and said he'd cover all the costs. I was touched and genuinely grateful. I accepted his offer, thinking it was his way of showing support for us after all. Then the other shoe dropped. My dad pulled Jake aside at a family dinner and told him he would only follow through on the payment if Jake could prove he's capable of supporting me long-term. When Jake asked what that meant, my dad handed him a list of tests he wanted Jake to pass before we got married. The list included things like having 6 months of rent saved up in cash, landing a real job with benefits, aka not freelancing, and buying me a car. Jake was hurt and told me everything. I was furious. I told my dad I didn't want his money if it meant demeaning my fiancé. He told me I was being naive and insisted he was just protecting my future. I stood firm and said that if he couldn't support us without these tests, we'd pay for the wedding ourselves. Now my dad says I'm ungrateful and letting emotion cloud my judgment. Even my mom is saying I should consider Dad's generous offer and try to work with him. AITA for refusing to let my dad pay for the wedding under these conditions. Update 1. Thank you so much for all the advice and support, Reddit. Your comments really helped me see that I wasn't overreacting and that my dad's conditions were, frankly, absurd. After much thought, I decided to sit down with both of my parents to talk this out. I wanted to be open about how hurtful and controlling these conditions felt. I explained to them that while I'm grateful for my dad's generosity, it feels like he's only supporting our wedding if he gets to control our relationship. My dad doubled down, saying that marriage is serious business, and that Jake hasn't proven himself to be a stable partner. He also insinuated that I've outgrown Jake and deserve better. That was the final straw for me. I told him that I didn't need or want his money and that Jake is my choice, no matter what my dad thinks. My mom looked devastated but stayed silent. Later, Jake and I talked about ways to cut down on wedding costs, and honestly, he was relieved that my dad wasn't involved anymore. He said he felt like he could actually enjoy planning now. It felt like a weight had been lifted. But the fallout with my family has been rough. My dad stopped answering my calls, and my mom has been pressuring me to patch things up. I'm not sure how to move forward, but I'm trying to stay strong. Update 2. So, it's been a couple of weeks, and things are complicated. I went to visit my parents to try and smooth things over. My dad was cordial, but he's clearly still upset. He actually told me that if I was going to be stubborn, then I shouldn't expect any support from him at all, not just for the wedding but for anything in the future. That's fine, I'm financially independent, but it hurt to hear. My mom finally opened up and admitted she doesn't fully agree with my dad but thinks I should still compromise, for the sake of family harmony. She suggested that if Jake would just attempt the tests, it might ease my dad's worries. When I mentioned this to Jake, though, he looked crushed and asked, "Why do I need to prove myself to him if we're building a life together?" He's right, and I don't want him to feel disrespected by my own family. I've tried explaining all this to my mom, but she's insistent that we should at least try. I feel like I'm being pulled in two directions, and it's exhausting. Final update. This will be my last update, and honestly, I think it's for the best. After talking with Jake and hearing so many of you validate my feelings, we made the decision to downsize the wedding even further and pay for it ourselves, no strings attached. We're keeping it intimate, with just our closest friends and family. It feels much more us, and I can already feel the stress melting away. I officially informed my dad of our decision, and he didn't take it well. He told me he wouldn't attend if Jake was going to be disrespectful and ignore his advice on how to be a proper husband. I was heartbroken but ultimately told him he's welcome if he can be supportive, but otherwise, I understand. My mom is attending, though she's been somewhat quiet since all this happened. My dad hasn't spoken to me since, but honestly, I'm done trying to please him at the expense of my happiness. The wedding is next month, and while it's not the big event we originally envisioned, it feels right for us. Jake and I are more united than ever, and I'm thankful to Reddit for helping me find the strength to stand by him. Thank you all for being part of this journey.
If you like the story, please share in comments regarding what you think about it, and if you had any stories like this, share it with us, and please like the video and share it with your friends, and also subscribe to the channel. It would boost me to post such videos.